Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. Forgive the wet hair, just got out of the shower. I was planning on making a fun video today about video game movies and talk about how awesome they have been lately and how kind of in like this renaissance of video games making their Hollywood silver screen transition, how awesome that's going. But instead today, if you can see the title here, I need to talk about something else because the gaming industry is just showing how backwards it is, how stupid it continues to be. We had some Marvel Rivals devs get laid off after the game that they helped develop became a blockbuster hit that nobody saw coming. No one saw it at this level of success at the very least. It is outperforming the likes of any of its contemporaries, including Overwatch 2, pulling in enormous numbers, making tons of money, being an overall really fun experience for a lot of people, and they got hit with layoffs, seemingly out of nowhere as well. So I wanted to talk about this today because we've seen it so many times now. I talked about this way back when Tango Gameworks got shut down, as well as Arcane Austin, and how it just doesn't make sense to me that some of these studios, Arcane maybe more so because Redfall was a flop, but they didn't want to work on that game in the first place. That was pushed on them from their overlords at Microsoft Studios. So to get this game pushed on them, a game they didn't want to make in the first place, it goes out, it's a failure, and then they get shut down because of it. Seems a little backwards too. But Tango Gameworks was one that I just could not fathom. Now, if you're not familiar with the story, I'm sure you are at this point if you're in the gaming community, but Tango Gameworks made games like The Evil Within. It was founded by Shinji Mikami himself, the father of Resident Evil, and they made Hi-Fi Rush, which was a critical success. It sold very well on the Xbox, and then it ended up winning awards at the Game Awards, being like this breakout star for the studio. Did very, very well. And then it got pushed over to PlayStation. This was one of their first waves of pushing their Microsoft games onto PlayStation consoles, and it did extremely well there too. And very shortly after, or in the middle of that process, they shut down Tango Gameworks altogether. And then had the gall, the audacity to say, we need more studios that make games that win awards. You just had one. You literally had it. You had it right there, and you sold it down the river because it wasn't meeting the profit line that you were looking for. It's just saddening to see. And to see this happen with Marvel Rivals devs, it's just a real big shame. This really makes me think of, too, with Helldivers 2 and the situation that happened there. I immediately think of that. Helldivers 2 was an unprecedented success for Sony. They did not expect it to do well. They were developing Concord at the time. They expected that one to be the breakout star. Helldivers 2 was a much smaller budget game, smaller team, and they didn't even have the resources to have all the players in there that decided to run to the game. And so they had to devote a lot of resources to it. They had to do a lot of work to make sure the game kept going. But Sony decided to stick their fingers in the pie and meddle around a little bit and made it a much more complicated mess, not only requiring the PSN sign-in, which banned the game in so many countries because you couldn't make a PlayStation Network account, made it so that just a lot of people couldn't play it on PC, which was really big bummer there. But it also made it so that the developers had a really hard time working on the game and making it stable. They had lots of setbacks, and fortunately they were able to come out on top and make the game still successful, draw the people back in and everything, but it was a huge mess, and it was primarily because of the corporate meddling. This seems to be a similar thing. The overarching head of the studios talked about how we're laying off this team in Seattle, but don't worry, the game is still going to continue on being a great success. Don't worry about it, fans of the game. It's going to be great, which is such an awful thing to say after laying off people. Like, yeah, we just cut a bunch of jobs, but you know what? Game's still going to be good, so keep playing it, you guys. Keep funneling money over here. We don't want you to stop giving us money. That's all it seems like to me, and it's just baffling, too, because a live service game needs a lot of innovation to thrive. Like I just talked about with Helldivers 2. They had some setbacks. It lost a lot of players. They had to kind of claw their way back and get back in the players' good graces and make the game very palatable again, make it so that people really wanted to jump back into it. And this is going to be a similar thing. Marvel Rivals is a huge huge success right now, but how do you keep it moving forward, especially if you're cutting team members? Now, I don't know the extent of their involvement in the production process. I don't know if they were the star players and now they're getting cut and they're just like, we can just move on with our backups here and be totally fine. Or if this was a minor part of the team itself, maybe they were under contract work, people are speculating. But even so, being part of a huge breakout success like this, wouldn't you want to keep your whole team on to keep this game moving forward? Wouldn't you not want to lose any creative vision here? Don't you want this game to keep succeeding? Or are you just worried about maximizing your profits in every way, shape, or form? Obviously, it's the latter. We've talked about this in videos. I see comments all the time on my videos that talk about this. It's like, if you don't get it now, and I do, I totally get it. It's that companies are just worried about profits. They're maximizing profits. They don't care about people. As soon as they lose value, they cut them. Even if they do have value, if they make an award-winning breakout game, they cut them anyway because their bottom line can be better if they do. It really sucks to see, and we're just continuing to see this moving forward, and it really sucks to me. I've talked about Nintendo a lot and how I don't like their emulation practices and the way that how litigious they are going after people that play their games online even, but I do appreciate the way that they have treated their employees in the past. If you look back in the time when the Wii U was flopping hard and Nintendo was in a very bad spot, the CEO cut his own salary so they didn't have to cut any employees, so they could keep them working on it. His rationale behind that was, if I keep my employees happy, if I make them see like, hey, this isn't the end of your job, they're going to be more productive. They're going to recognize that, yeah, we had this blunder here, but we can keep pushing forward and keep innovating, keep doing our thing, and they can keep working happily because they know their job is secure. They know they're not in danger of being laid off. This was a huge thing, something that's pretty unprecedented in the gaming industry. And because of that, directly because of that, we got the Nintendo Switch. Imagine if they laid off a bunch of the team that worked on the Wii U, and suddenly they're working on their next console. They don't have the creative vision that they had back then. They probably couldn't have realized that vision turning it into the Nintendo Switch. Maybe they would have, maybe I'm wrong, but it makes more sense to me that happy employees that feel like they are safe under the company they work for are going to be more productive and work better. And we see the Switch being a massive success. It has sold over 150 million consoles now at this point. It is less than 10 million behind the PlayStation 2 after they adjusted the numbers to say it sold 160 million consoles. So we're looking at the Switch being the best-selling console of all time. I don't think it's even a question at this point. 10 million units in like a year or two. I'm guessing they'll keep producing it even with the Switch 2 out. I'm guessing people will still buy it because it'll be a cheaper alternative. There's still tons of games. The library is immense. I'm still seeing that becoming the best-selling console of all time. At the very minimum, it will outsell the Nintendo DS and be the best-selling Nintendo console of all time. Nintendo is a good example of treating your employees well, and that is something that a lot of these big execs just don't know how to do. They just care about the bottom line. They don't care about anybody making great products anymore. It really sucks to see, like with Arcane, made Redfall. That was a bad product. It really bombed. No one liked it. Everyone was returning it. They canceled the roadmap. They closed the studio. Okay, we can see that. We can see what happens there. That happens to other studios too. But now you have like developers like Tango Gameworks make an award-winning game that's super innovative and interesting, does gangbusters on the Xbox and PlayStation, and then they close the studio. And Marvel Rivals is killing devs because they just don't want to have them on the team anymore, despite the game being a huge success. If you look way back in like the Nintendo 64 era of games, if you look back at like Squaresoft, if you look back at Rare, they make like a really good breakout hit and they're given the keys to the kingdom. They say, hey, you made this game, can we make another one? Yeah, you've already got a bunch of irons in the fire. They made hit after hit after hit. If you look at like just the Rare Replay bundle and look at the Nintendo 64 era on there, you also have to remember that Donkey Kong 64 was in there as well, and GoldenEye, that are included for obvious reasons with copyright and everything. They had like 8 games on that console in the space of like 4 years that were all really good. They just kept making good stuff because they knew that they were trusted by their heads. They knew that their development team was safe under the the umbrella here. They knew that they were going to be able to keep making their stuff and keep innovating because they kept making hits. They knew if they made a hit, they would keep getting work. Square was the same way. They had so many breakout hits on the PlayStation 1 that before that on Nintendo consoles, they just were given all of the keys. They said, hey, you keep making us money. We love you. Keep going on. And we just don't see that anymore. You could have a breakout hit, you could have a bomb, and have the exact same thing happen to your studio. It's just absolutely backwards right now. And maybe we'll see it change. I don't have a whole lot of optimism. I haven't for a while. It's nice to see some studios getting some recognition, some smaller studios, indie devs getting some major recognition from the public at the very least, having really good breakout hits. It's nice when they're not under a corporate like umbrella to worry about. It's nice to see them like really have a great amount of success and get to bask in that success. Just look at the Balatro dev, one guy making the game. He's not working on anything else. He's just like, I want to make this game the best it can be, make it a great experience for everybody, and he's just enjoying the fruits of his labor now, and it's beautiful to see. But so many other studios under corporate umbrellas just don't have that same kind of protection. It just kind of sucks. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.